I think we're welcome to CSIS. It is wonderful to have everyone here this afternoon for what is really standing room only, and we are trying to get some more seats for everybody. But I think that speaks to how significant today's events are. The program US-Taiwan Commercial Ties, Broadening the Relationship in a Turbulent Era. The United States and Taiwan have a long-term relationship, commercial relationship, people-to-people ties, which are extremely deep. This week, Minister Deng and a large group of Taiwanese businesses are here in Washington to participate in the Select USA program. And we're lucky enough to take advantage of their presence to have them here at CSIS. And their presence could not be more timely. This is a period of immense change with opportunities and risks, with changes in technology, our planet, demographics, and in case you haven't been paying attention, some political tensions and rivalries, which are in the news all the time. For all of these issues, it's very important that we hear the perspectives of Taiwanese on all of these issues. We're going to begin today's program with some opening remarks by a leading Taiwan official, Minister without Portfolio John Deng, which will then be followed by a conversation with three leading business executives, and I'll be sharing moderating duties with one of the most insightful minds in Washington, Meredith Sumpter of the Eurasia Group, when we get to that portion of the program. And then we'll hopefully, as part of that, entertain your questions and comments. But let me turn now to introducing Minister Deng, who is the Minister without Portfolio of the Executive Yuan of the Government of Taiwan. He's an old friend of CSIS. He spoke here in early 2015 when he was Minister of Economic Affairs, and I had the honor of hosting him for that visit and for today's program. Perhaps even more importantly to me is I live in Falls Church, Virginia, and my kids attend George Mason High School. And Minister Deng, earlier in his service in government, helped develop a program between my son's high school and Taiwan to help look at and provide support to Aboriginal peoples based in the city of Ilan. And so we have these multiple connections, but we have one more. We both went to George Washington University. And so for all of those reasons, I'm particularly glad that he's been able to come back and visit. As I mentioned, he served as Minister of Economic Affairs and many other positions in the Taiwan government. He was Deputy Minister of the Mainland Affairs Council, Deputy Representative for Taiwan to the World Trade Organization, and Deputy Secretary General of the National Security Council. In 2014, he assumed his position Minister without Portfolio, and over the last few years, he's been responsible for trying to lead the effort in Taiwan to expand their participation in regional free trade arrangements, including the key policy of the new Southbound policy that has been developed over the last few years and that we at CSIS have been focused on intently examining. And he's also, of course, been focused heavily on expanding business ties between Taiwan and the United States. So please join me in welcoming Minister John Deng.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Scott. First, pick up that very nice picture I have. Much better than what I'm looking now. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to come back to CSIS. Just like Scott introduced to you that I come on this trip to attend this Select USA activity organized by Commerce Department. This is a very expensive trip for us. We spent $1.2 billion yesterday, but that's for good. We Taiwan Power Company purchased 2 gas turbines from GE, and that's what that contract signed for. And after you install gas turbine, you have to import LNG from the United States. So this is a business, a very big business. I think everyone in GE, in US government, they are all very excited about that contract. We are the largest delegation among all the world nations. Commerce invite probably between 70 to 80 countries. And the participants are around, according to the Commerce number, is 3,300 participants around the world. Taiwan is the largest group. Most of the business coming with us already have quite extensive degree of US activities. However, the recent development of international economic situation clearly shows that it is time for our business community to explore further the potentials of the United States. That is the largest market in the world as a destination of investment. The visit by our delegation represents our firm belief that Taiwan and the United States are very good partners to each other in carrying out our mutual economic, commercial, and trade interests in Asia and around the world. My presentation today will be divided into 4 parts. First, the economic performance of Taiwan. Second, Taiwan's economic policies. Third, current economic and trade relationship between US and Taiwan. And fourth, in my conclusion, I will argue that Taiwan is the best choice of candidates for US to sign a bilateral trade agreement. Let me start to report to you that the robust and steady economic performance of Taiwan. According to official forecast, Taiwan's GDP growth rate for 2019 is estimated to be 2.19%. If you check the other forecasts, such as IHS Markit, a famous one, and IMF, Taiwan's estimate growth rate will be 2% and 2.5% respectively. Taiwan's economic performance is quite steady compared with the other Asian economies. In the case of Singapore, it is 1.4 and 2.3%. And Japan is 0.6% and 1%. So we think we have quite good performance. Even though Taiwan was also inevitably affected by global factors, Taiwan's financial market performance remains stable. One indicator of proof is the exchange rate of NT dollar. The scope, that's on the colored area. The scope of fluctuations of exchange rate of Taiwan new NT dollar to US dollar between January 2018 to May this year has been within less than 4%. It's 3.79%. Whereas in the case of Japanese yen, it is about 6.2. And in Korea won, it's 5.4. And in renminbi, it's 6.7%. So the change of our exchange rate is the narrowest among most of the Asia major currencies. The other indicator is the stock markets. The volatility of Taiwan stock market between January 2018 and May this year has been comparatively modest, which is 15.5, is highest and lowest. We check the highest and the lowest. Taiwan's is 15.54%. And if you see Koreans, that is third bar, that's 21.4%. And Shanghai index, that's 21.8%. So the stock market is one of the indicators, very important indicators to show the resilience of an economy, which our performance is quite good. Also, a very encouraging sign is after almost 20 years of outflow of manufacturing sectors, there has been obvious and significant relocation back to Taiwan this year. In computer, electronics, and optical product manufacturing sectors, which all had experienced significant outflows from Taiwan previously, the total output in the first quarter of this year was 18.23%, higher than that for the same period in 2018. This, we are quite comfortable this area will continue to grow, that a large number of inflow back to Taiwan. This never occurred in past 20 years. The other phenomena is that the share of the above products produced overseas is decreasing gradually as well. In the past, we have a quite large percentage of the business pattern that in Taiwan, you receive order, then you produce that in China. Now, if we see the percentage that produced in China, you see the arrow is decreasing very fast. We believe this will continue. In other words, the production, local production was significantly increased. The important economic policies of Taiwan now is, first, of course, is meeting the fundamental needs of business operation and investment. For those returned investors, we have to find appropriate land for them. We have to help them to find enough laborers. We have to provide enough research support. We have to provide enough electricities. That's why we spent 1.2 billion to buy that power turbine. And deregulations. This is quite important to our government. So just few examples that on the professional applying for Taiwan citizenship, foreign professional applying for Taiwan citizenship, that's a deregulation, and issuance of foreign bonds in Taiwan, streamlining custom procedures for importation. Those are all the areas of our deregulation. And on 5.2 innovative industries, we see quite good positive signs on smart machinery, on internet, AI, on green energy, and on biomedical industry, on defense industry, and new agriculture, circular economy. We all see quite positive signs. Those are the areas that we hope and we believe we should be able to perform well for our next, to upgrade our industries. Another important policy Scott mentioned is new Southbound policy. We see large number of increase of trade, tourist, student exchange, flight numbers. The other day, I was told that every week, the flights between Vietnam and Taiwan is 200 every week. I couldn't believe that. I thought, is that wrong? But, yes, it's 200. And they make good money. It is quite fully occupied. If you want to fly from Taiwan to Vietnam, you have to book early. Next major policy to Taiwan is to join CPTPP. This is still one of the most important economic policy. You may want to ask me what is the progress now. They still have 4 members who have not ratified the agreement yet. So the priority for the current members is to help those 4 to finish their ratification process. But we already engaged in quite extensive, we call informal engagement. So we'll continue to do that. This is very important to Taiwan. We see that because of lack of free trade network, Taiwan business were placed in a not very fair competition position. On the Taiwan-U.S. bilateral economic and trade relationship, we see very positive signs. Many U.S. companies have chosen Taiwan to set up their R&D centers. Next page, please. You see Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they all announced many major programs in Taiwan, which we highly appreciate, and we work very closely with them. Come back to last page. And we have a very extensive cooperation on digital economy. And in the future, we'll continue to buy agricultural products, military goods, government, energy, civil aircraft, semiconductor equipments. So those are the areas we think we will significantly increase our purchase from United States, and not to mention investment. I expect our investment to United States will see a very large increase there. Taiwan and US and Taiwan, we are trusted business partners to each other. All the numbers, and I think everyone in this room can tell that Taiwan can be trusted. We respect intellectual property rights. We will not steal any others' intellectual property rights. We open our market. We compete fairly. We understand that the importance of the United States. So we believe we are trusted partners to the United States. And we are cultivating new areas. For instance, in the case of small and business enterprises, the U.S. Small Business Administration and Taiwan's Small Business Administration, they have many programs undergoing now. I just we will expand talent development and capacity buildings for Southeast Asian governments on small, medium enterprise development. So we are not working between us. We work together to move to Southeast Asia countries. And we also are working very closely with Overseas Private Investment Corporation, which is an organization of U.S. government that to help the U.S. business to conduct their, expand their operation in the foreign countries. And we have quite good cooperation with OPIC now. In conclusion, I'll argue that Taiwan is the best candidate for a bilateral trade agreement with the United States. Such an agreement will help support United States national interest in the Indo-Pacific region. And the Taiwan-US bilateral trade agreement will help maintain confidence in our business community and will help to maintain our economic security. Taiwan stands to sign a high standard trade agreement with the United States. This agreement will create more business opportunities for both sides. Then a Taiwan-US business trade agreement will facilitate restructuring high-tech supply chain, shielding the US and its allies from interference and threats by China in an emergency. Thank you very much for your attention.
So we'll invite the panelists up. And Minga, can we? Well, Minister Deng, thank you so much for those really insightful opening remarks for to get today's discussions started. Extremely helpful and reassuring to see Taiwan's economy stable, but also making a lot of progress with developing advanced manufacturing more at home. I think there'll probably be some folks in Washington, D.C. be envious of some of that success of bringing industry home, and certainly would like to replicate some of that. And I think part of the success of what Taiwan is doing is through the relationship that we have. What I wanted to do now is briefly introduce my colleagues on stage, get to the conversation with them, and then make sure that we've got some time to have all of you participate as well. So let me introduce our three visiting business executives, starting at the very end. Very briefly, that's Paul Chen.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes. Who is, Paul is the Executive Vice President of MAG Automotive, which is a part of the Fair Friends Group. He's from Taipei, but he's lived all over the United States. We could just pause that right now. We'll get to use that in just a second. So let me really introduce everybody. So I study tech, I just don't know how to use it. So Paul emigrated to the United States in 1980, graduated from Georgia Tech in 1990, and then he became an entrepreneur. In 2003, he moved back to Taiwan and joined FFG, and then came back to the United States in 2010 to join Saginaw Machine Systems, and which was acquired by MAG Automotive in 2016. In the middle of the table is Chaney Ho, who's the co-founder of Advantech, which is an IoT firm. As the co-founder of Advantech, Chaney oversees the company's global sales and marketing strategies, and the company is listed as a top 10 Taiwan global brand. They serve the greater Chinese market, including China and Taiwan, which accounts for 30% of their revenue. In between Chaney and Paul is Michael Kang, who is the senior Vice President for Bionet, which is a biotech firm based in Taiwan. Michael graduated from Donghai University in 1986 with a degree in chemistry. And he started working in the pharmaceutical industry right after he finished school. And in 1988 joined Merck. In 2011 he joined Bionet, which was established in 1999 and is a pioneering company in the field of stem cell applications. To my immediate left is my partner in crime today, my fellow inquisitor of our visiting guest, Meredith Sumpter, who's the head of research and operations at the Eurasia Group. Meredith leads the Eurasia Group's research management and strategy. Her own analysis covers not only China and Asia, but global politics, the new geopolitics, and the 21st century drivers of trade and growth. Her experience spans multiple regions and sectors, including ICT, media, public relations, fast-moving consumer goods, healthcare, banking and finance, and commodities. Prior to joining the Eurasia Group, she served as an American diplomat, including in Beijing, where she advised 2 ambassadors, analyzed Chinese politics, economics, and security issues for the policy community. And she's also worked on the Hill. And we're really delighted to have you here today, Meredith, to help me have this conversation with our visitors. I think my goal is, because Meredith is the better half of this moderating partnership, is for me to throw out the first question to our panelists, but then really let Meredith take over, and occasionally I'll throw in a line or two to add some color and some perspective. And
you all know that Scott is far too gracious by now.
Yeah. So, any case, but because we've got the 3 of you here, Chaney, Michael, and Paul, maybe if you could tell people, I always think the importance of having business people speak at CSIS is because you do real business. You are down in the trenches with real products, designing, selling those products and services, and dealing with customers all over the world. And so you have a certain perspective from your business that speaks to public policy in one way or the other. So I thought maybe if you could give initially just a very brief introduction to your companies and the industries, and then that'll set the stage for us to talk about some of the other issues which Minister Deng mentioned and that we should address while you're here. So why don't we first start maybe with Paul down at the end, and now it's a good time that we could use that video.
Can everybody hear me now? Yes, so you can play it now. I spent a lot of time on this, woke up at 4 o'clock to send out the working version. Anyway, my name is Paul Chen with MAG Automotive in Sterling Heights, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit and the heart of North America's automotive industry. And it is my special privilege and distinctive honor to be a member of the Taiwanese delegation and also part of the panel discussion. And I am also representing our parent company, FFG Fairfront. Also representing FFG Fairfront Group, located and headquartered in Taiwan. FFG was established in 1979, originally as the distributor for a Japanese construction machinery company called Kobelco. And over the last 40 years, through diversification, merger and acquisition, and international joint venture, today's FFG is a multi-billion global conglomerate with 96 companies worldwide. And in those 96 companies, there are 3 divisions, namely the machine tool, industrial equipment, and also green energy. Machine tool, of course, is the biggest division, and it consists of 37 global renowned machine tool brands with 3,000 plus years of combined histories. And then 50 manufacturing facilities in 10 industrial countries in the world, and currently we are the 3rd largest machine tool group in the world. And in the United States, FFG has 7 operations in Michigan, Illinois, California, New Jersey, and Maine, employing more than 350 diligent, dedicated, and productive U.S. employees. Machine tool is the machine of all, is the mother of all machines, okay? The everyday life convenience that we enjoy, such as transportation, computer product, IT, consumer electronics, would not have been possible without the contribution of CNC machine tool. And then of course that with FFG, we offer the widest configuration of machine tool and serving the widest industry, including machine shops and also aerospace, automotive, transportation, energy, mold and die, and more. And in MAG Automotive, the operation that I'm stationed at, okay, we provide the complete machining solutions to the automotive OEMs and tier suppliers. Our customers include companies like the Detroit 3 and also tier suppliers such as Caterpillar and Cummins. Unlike the commodity machine tool that they only provide, unlike the commodity machine tool builders, they only provide machines to the customers. We provide the complete machining solutions that not only covers the equipment itself, but we also guarantee cycle time, accuracy, CPK, uptime, and reliability and longevity, okay? So in case you ever wonder, how come that, amongst different cars, that engines sound differently and has different degrees of smoothness? I can tell you a secret, that the machine's precision, accuracy, rigidity, cutting program, processes, and also cutting tool, which are all part of this complete machining solution, is vital to the performance of automotive's powertrain systems. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Yes, I'm Michael Kang. Sorry. I'm Michael Kang, presenting for Bionet in Taiwan. Bionet is the pioneer company who keep the stem cell storage for 20 years already. And we are doing the business to saving people's life. Okay, I just give you one example that, okay, for some leukemia people, if they have faced different kind of treatment, finally he can find the stem cell treatment from us. But we are not a medical company. We are the biotech company. So we can only help people, help doctor and hospital to store the healthy stem cell in advance. So I just want to point out that nowadays, biotech is not only limited in pharmaceuticals, but also extend to the others, for example, cell therapy and some genetic testing. These are the two major forecasts for Bionet. And we are talking about that biotech will be the growth engine for Asia in coming 5 to 10 years. So this related to some kind of precision medicine for genetic testing or regenerative medicine for cell therapy. And recently our company also utilized the stem cell technology to do some cosmetic products. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Cheney. I'm from Advantech. Let me give you a very brief introduction of Advantech. Advantech was established in 1983 when I was young. I started this company with 3 colleagues from Hewlett-Packard. We worked for Hewlett-Packard, and then we started this company because we see the opportunity for the automation. So after 38 years, nowadays we have sales operation in 26 countries in the world. And among the 26 countries, US is the biggest market for Advantech. It's about 30%. In US, we have employed 550 professionals. And we plan to add another 200 to 300 in the next 3 to 5 years because we see a good opportunity. So we manufacturing computer, not the commercial computer. We industrial ruggedized computer using in your factory for factory automation, using in the train for the signal control, and also using in kiosk or ATM machine all the computer. And also machinery. In the machinery, actually he's also our customer. We provide a computer for machinery. Okay, so nowadays we have about 8,000 employees globally. And we have 2 factories, one in Taiwan and one in China. So in Taiwan nowadays we have about 55% of the capacity. In China we have about 45%. We don't put all the egg in one bracket. And the sales turnover, the sales revenue this year will be going to 1.8 billion. And our market cap is very close to $6 billion US dollars. So I'm very happy to be here. So I wish I can provide some viewpoint on globalization and also the global free trade. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much to Scott and CSIS, to Minister Deng, as well as our distinguished guests who are representing the machine tool, biotechnology, and IoT ICT industries. We had the pleasure of meeting just before the panel to get to know each other a little bit, and we were discussing how businesses are really about a year, maybe sometimes 2 years ahead of where the politics are in a given relationship, whether that's bilateral or multilateral. And so you have here businesses on the front lines of making things happen, regardless of the externalities. And I would like to ask each of our panelists to comment on their perspective and from their experience, drawing from the event's title. For each of you, what most marks this as a turbulent time for businesses seeking to grow in your respective industries? Perhaps we should go. Right. So, in our turbulent time, what for your particular industry makes it turbulent? And as a business leader, how do you think about managing that turbulence and continuing your growth strategy?
So, I will go ahead and answer first. To us, the machinery industries, I think that in terms of the turbulent time that we're currently facing is absolutely this 25% additional tariff that we're facing, okay? Because a good part of our business is, selling the machining solutions to China. China has a great demand for diesel engines, and because of the unsettling trade dispute at current time, that our activities from China regarding the diesel engine business has all but stopped, okay? But fortunately, in our case, with FFG being a, multinational organizations, okay, we also have factories in Germany with the same product and also same technologies. So in this particular case, that we are able to utilize our German source to continue to supply to China's diesel engine machining needs without having to suffer the 25% additional tariff. I would like to add one more point that we are also experiencing from the US side, not talking about the tariff. In regards to the automotive industries, as everyone knows that there is a big trend of electric vehicle, e-mobility, autonomous vehicles, and so on and so forth. What that means to us, the machinery builder, the machinery used to machine the powertrain components, if the cars were to be converted, if the majority of the cars were to be converted into electric vehicle, what that means is the number of machine tool that was originally required to machine internal combustion engine will be reduced from 100 to 15. The amount of works required to machine components for the EV market is 85% less. So in our countermeasure, obviously, we have to expand outside of the traditional strength that we have, which is internal combustion, gas engine, and diesel engine. We have to be able to also machine additional components, including the electric vehicle, and also expand into additional sectors and additional industries. And of course, that this will require change of channel partnership change of mindset, okay, and also development of additional products, okay. But fortunately, being part of the multinational organization, utilizing our global resource, we're able to execute such strategy. Thank you.
Yes. I would say that in formal time, we are thinking about that if we face the health issue, we will think about that how we treat our disease after we found it. And we need to find some drug or medicine to cure it. But nowadays, our concept is to prevention, to prevent such kind of disease happen to ourselves. How to prevent? We can do the genetic testing. That means we can analyze our everyone's DNA, then we can get some information in advance. And that means we can change the medical treatment to a kind of risk management. That means everybody can understand what could be the risk for his coming years. Especially for nowadays, people's life become longer. That the average age is around 80 in Taiwan. So that means after our retirement, we still have 20 years, and everybody want to live healthy. So if we can manage earlier, then we can have a better future. And the second one is, okay, we try to not compete to the other method to treat disease. We are looking for some collaboration. It's a kind of cocktail protocol. That means, let me give you one example. If I got a cancer, in former time, I can only go to hospital to find a doctor to look for surgery, chemotherapy, and so on. But nowadays, a kind of cell therapy age is coming. So that means we can store our healthy stem cell or immune cell in advance. Then if I got this disease, we can ask doctor to combine this different kind of therapy. And especially last year, Taiwan government, TFDA already announced a special regulation for cell therapy. So I believe Taiwan will become the top 3 cell therapy country in Asia.
We are in the ICT industry. So fortunately, in the past, the ICT was the zero tax in most of the country, except India, Brazil, or Russia. So we don't have this kind of tax issue until last year, because the U.S. imposed the tariff on those products made in China and shipped to U.S. So your question is our approach, how we handle this situation. I would say from short-term point of view, we already discussed, actually the customer in U.S. already request us to not ship the product from China. So fortunately enough that we still remain quite big capacity in Taiwan. So nowadays we are processing to move back the production back to Taiwan for those products were shipped to US. Okay, so this is the, I think I would say this is the short term. And I believe many ICT companies, including Foxconn or Compaq, all the notebook, PC, mobile phone manufacturer will be suffered by the 25% tariff. So, but they are nowadays almost locked in China. So I think it's tough for them to handle this situation. So I come to my long-term fix. I think we are thinking as a business leader, you need to thinking not on the short term. My long-term thing is that you have to understand where is your end market. If you have you have a business in the end market in US or in Japan or in Europe, you need to build up your value chain of manufacturing in that country in order to create the value to that country. For example, what is the value chain of manufacturing? Not only manufacturing, not only factory. So including the purchasing the component from that country, or set up R&D department or R&D center in that country, or you need to align or collaborate or co-create with the local partner in that country to create the mutual benefit opportunity, not only for your company, for both two countries. So this is my suggestion. You need to create a value chain in the country where you have market. So as I mentioned that US is my biggest market, and China is the second, Europe is the third, and Japan is the number 4. So we have a factory in Japan. We have an integration center and assembly line in California, and also we have an assembly line in Eindhoven, Netherlands. So I think this is the best approach that benefit mutual, not only one-way direction. It's kind of a two-way. And in the end, that if you cannot create the job opportunity for the market you sell into, I think this will not be long-term. And nowadays, it's time that we need to think about, especially when we understand China is no more a cheap place to make products. So I think it's a good time for all the business leaders to reconsider their long-term strategy. Okay, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We had a really fascinating discussion just ahead of this panel, looking at macro trends that these three business leaders are dealing with. And obviously, you've heard three of them talk about the ongoing US-China economic confrontation and what that means. But Chaney also had spoke very eloquently about something that we watch very closely at Eurasia Group, and I bother Scott with this quite a bit as well, is that we have seen really a rise of protectionism since the 2008 financial crisis. And a lot of that new protectionism is actually coming from developed market economies, including our own here in the United States. So Chaney talked about it as deglobalization. So I would just welcome the three of you also briefly commenting on how do you think about your onward strategy, not just through the prism of US-China, but through the prism of growing protectionism, deglobalization that's going to make not only your trade and investment strategies more challenging, but also increase your cost in terms of supply chains and innovation. Whoever would be comfortable going first.
Again, actually, so we have the operating cost of Advantech in US is quite high, because you guys are very expensive. much more expensive than in Taiwan or in China, okay? But we still need to hire professionals here. Especially in the US. US is a free country, a lot of innovation. All the young people are very, very innovative. So actually it's a benefit for us. I think we also benefit from hiring talent in US because that create innovation. And actually we have some of the product idea was designed from US, not from Taiwan, not from China. Okay, so and nowadays we have a R&D team in Cincinnati, Ohio, and also we plan to establish another R&D team in California. So that, again, that's echo my viewpoint is that you cannot only think about your home country. You need to think about your end market country. That's the only way to survive in the future.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, it's my turn. Okay, talking about the globalization or deglobalization, okay, my answer is we are thinking a kind of regional. What do I mean regional? Talking about the genetic testing, we have developed our own technology. But for the cell therapy or genetic testing, that means a kind of precision medicine test method. Actually, United States is the pioneer and the more advanced. So nowadays, we are talking about some technology transfer. So that means instead of former time, we are collecting sample, sending out to United States to ask for testing, then we got the report back. Nowadays, we are doing some technology transfer to own the technology in our lab. And also thanks to our Southbound policy, we also extend our market coverage to Southeast Asia. That means we also extend our service to Malaysia, Indonesia, and even Japan. Although Japan, most of the people think that they are the important role in Asia, but not in genetic testing. So, okay, for such kind of role that I would say that if we want to do the technology transfer, that also relies on, as mentioned by John Deng, that we must be a trusted partner. That means we respect IP, although we learn from United States, but we will follow the rule. And follow the rule, do the thing right. Thank you.
Meredith, I have to admit, earlier when we were meeting upstairs, when I was listening to this deglobalization topic, and then again when you mentioned it just a few minutes ago, okay, I was wondering, okay, what would be the best answer from FFG in regards to this topic? And all of a sudden, everything starts making sense, all right? So in terms of facing the challenge of deglobalization, I have to compliment our founder, Mr. Jimmy Chu, because he is really a visionary not just in the machine tool industries, but in his strategic planning and also execution. As early as, I want to say, in 2000, early part of 2000, our chairman has already starting establishing international joint venture, okay, in terms of machine tool. So machine tool is not just a Taiwanese business, but also joint venture with Japanese companies. And then starting in 2007, of course, that we began our journey of acquiring Western machine tool companies, starting from Saginaw Machine Systems, and due to the 2008 and 2009 global financial crisis, we were also able to acquire a lot of European machine tool companies. So in terms of the deglobalization, though it's starting to happen, but at the same time, over the last 10 years or more than 10 years, we have already positioned ourselves being the local company in each individual important industrial countries in the world, okay? And not only that, when facing deglobalization, we're still able to utilize our global resource to reduce our cost, to expand into other market sectors, to co-develop products that's suitable for each market. So that is our solution of how to facing deglobalization by being local and being local in all the important industrial countries in the world. Thank you.
I want to just offer one little comment, and then I want to open things up to the audience. The first thing is we are witnessing through the presentation today a real change in the way business operates. You remember Fordist production, sort of, the scientific development, creation of how you manufacture, to globalization. And now I think what we're experiencing is multi-localization. not regionalization, but multi-localization, operating, whether it's for sales or for production, around the world. That's the first thing, is I think we're seeing such a new transformation. The second is Taiwanese companies are not your mom's Taiwanese companies. These are not small companies, unscientifically managed, just focused on the local market, local conditions. Who've totally grown up and transformed themselves. We've always known that Taiwanese companies are adaptable, but you figure adaptable within your locality. It's just amazing how far things have developed in the last 30 to 40 years, and it's because of you all. And so it's really just tremendous. And so the macro data that the minister had about your changing business operations in Southeast Asia, manufacturing in Taiwan and elsewhere, is reflected in the individual experiences of the companies, and so really appreciate your sharing. You're not stopping business, you're changing how you do it as a result of this turbulence, economic and political, and it's just amazing to see. All right, we've got some time for some questions. If you've got a question, please raise your hand high. One of my colleagues will bring a microphone to you. And then if you would identify yourself, your institution, and keep your comment to a question. Let's see. We'll start right over here.
Okay. Hi, my name is Angelita. I'm establishing Catalyst Omnimedia. First of all, thank you very much for the explanations. My question is that, recognizing the turbulence in the region with China, my main concern is that you are allies of the United States. And for being an ally, what can you offer to the region and to the business of the United States? I mean, especially now that China, I mean, from what I learned last night, I mean, the Philippines is going to stop patrolling that area, so pretty much giving in to China. So how can you manage China's monopoly and all that agenda as allies of the United States involved in business? Thank you.
Do you guys understand the question and want to take a stab at it? I mean, just one person can ask and we can get to more people.
Okay, I'm sitting between these two tables. I'm sitting in the center, right? It's China and it's the US. So Taiwan is really in a very dynamic situation, because we have we have a market in China, we have the manufacturing in China, but as you mentioned, we are ally of US. We have the same value. We share the same value like freedom, individual respect. I fully understand, but I'm sitting in the center. So my suggestion is that for most of the Taiwanese company, I think we still need to respect the law in each country. In terms of as I mentioned, that we need to follow the law of US, but in some respect, we also need to follow the law from China.
Just a quick follow-up. The question is about the regional impact of Taiwan in Asia. The context is just being an ally of the United States, but what can you do for regional impact in the Asia region? Or do you see that as a role for?
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, that China, the labor cost increase in China, and also the protection or the policy is become tightened. So actually, many foreign companies already leave China, not just now. Even Chinese companies leave China because, as I mentioned, that cost is main concern. Without making profit, you cannot survive. So same as Taiwan, most of the Taiwanese companies are also thinking about that. So some of the companies already choose to move to Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, also Philippines, to do the manufacturing if they require high volume of labor. But some of the companies choose to return to Taiwan, especially for those high value added with automation. And some of the companies, even as like Advantech, we consider not only either Taiwan or China. We consider the end product, end market. For example, in US, we need to establish our manufacturing, our value chain of manufacturing in US, in Europe, or in Japan too. So that's the way how we handle my suggestion. But probably Paul has a different idea. But this is my personal view. Okay.
If time allows, I would like to make some comment. Okay. So this is not necessarily from the company's point of view, but a lot of them being maybe my personal point of view as well as my personal experience. I'm very fortunate to be bilingual and also bicultural, and I also have the opportunity, capability of reading media from multiple sources, and then I start questioning. I said, one media says this, and another media said that. Okay, and they're contradictory. What is right? What is wrong? Or is there or are they really both right, but they're expressing things in different ways? So, for example, by the way, one emphasis I would like to make is dialogue. Okay, I feel it is very important to have. On any side, any country who's involved in any sort of conflict, it is important to have the experts from both countries who are well-versed in each country's culture, background, and many aspects. Okay, I just want to give you an example, which I personally experienced over the last, I wouldn't say 7 days. Last year, I worked very, very hard, okay, and brought back a $13 million order, okay, to the United States from China. And in fact, I remember when I entered U.S. Customs, they said, "What did you bring back?" U.S. Customs official, they always ask you a question, "What do you bring back?" I said, "I brought back a $13 million US dollar order. I can help balance the U.S.-China trade." Anyway, I'm sentimentally connected to that project. And as they are here in Sterling Heights, okay, in Michigan, and doing the pre-acceptance of the machineries. And, but due to the language barrier, there were some points that they were trying to make, and they couldn't. And same thing that from our perspective, that there are points that they're adamant about, okay? And we're both right. So in this particular case, the communication and the dialogue in the middle is so important that you understand the background, the culture, and everything behind the two sides, and be able to be the best lubricant of bringing the differences, resolving the differences, and bring resolution, okay? So in terms of, back to your question, okay, dialogue, empathy, respect, understanding of each other, okay, will be the best solution, okay, for resolving, in my point of view, okay, for resolving differences. Thank you.
Super. Next question, here in the middle, the gentleman with his hand up. The microphone's just to your left.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, Chase Blazik from the U.S. ASEAN Business Council. We help U.S. businesses do business in Southeast Asia, and one of the big issues we hear a lot of times is U.S. tech leadership is absent. Chinese tech leadership is quite active in Southeast Asia. So when Southeast Asian tech companies are looking for a partner, oftentimes the U.S. will help them with the monies or the dollars and cents of it, but they're not there on the ground like Jack Ma helping Chinese companies or Southeast Asian companies to develop. So as businessmen yourselves, how do you go about tech leadership in the countries you're in? How do you help other countries develop their tech? and how do you just develop this international tech presence so that your influence goes beyond your borders and you're not just helping a Taiwanese tech company, you're helping other tech companies in other countries? Thank you.
I have eye contact with him, so I suppose he was expecting me to answer the question. Okay. Well, first of all, I was writing down the notes as you asked the question. Regarding U.S. companies not having presence in the high-tech side or the high-tech world in Southeast Asia, well, I am in agreement with you. And I have to say that very, very, very unfortunately, okay, a good majority of our fellow Americans, okay, their main focuses, of course, is in the United States alone. United States is big enough that, if you only care about the United States alone, it will be sufficient. But at the same time, okay, there is, for those of us who have the privilege to travel abroad, we understand how diversified, how the world is really different out there. So I think in that regard, we need to start from education. Education in terms of global geography, global politics, and so on and so forth. I pride myself, at the age of 10, as a fourth grader, I know the capitals of a lot of countries. As a 10th grader, and I credit Taiwan's education in terms of giving us a broader global view. And I believe that is vital for the next generation American to be competitive globally. And I want to share with you a humor. Once upon a time, somebody told me that for those who can speak 4 languages, you call them multilinguals. For those who can speak 3, you call them trilinguals. For those who can speak 2 languages, bilinguals. For those who can speak 1, American. Okay? Again, I said as a humor, but if we look at our future, the future challenge that we're facing, okay, in a global stage, we need to equip ourselves, okay, with a better weapon or better knowledge to compete in the global stage. And then your second question regarding helping the southeastern country to develop their high tech. I see. So again, the business leader need to show interest, okay, and passion in not just the developing and also those, top-notch countries, but also, countries such as Southeastern Asia, and not only that, as well as Africa. I know we were talking about manufacturing moving to Vietnam. I have to tell you, 5 years ago, I have heard that ultimately manufacturing will move to Africa, okay? And just remember today, I said that because years ago, or maybe a decade ago, I have heard that manufacturing is going to Southeast Asia. The trend is happening. The business people, they will be looking for the least expensive place to develop, to manufacture their products. So that's my humble opinions. Yes.
Terrific. This conversation has gone by far too fast. I want to turn things over to Meredith who can offer some concluding remarks for today's event.
Thank you, Scott, as well as CSIS, Minister Deng, our esteemed guest, as well as our audience members. We've heard from Taiwan's business leaders how they're thinking about, and not just managing the risks that they see in our deglobalized and turbulent world, but how they are devising strategies to thrive. And that really says a great deal, not only about their vision and their pragmatism, but their grit and their willingness to compete. So I applaud the three of you for that, and I look forward to seeing where you take your companies. I learned a great deal, as I'm sure we all did, at the various strategies that they are looking at using both in the short term and the long term, shifting production to places where they could guard against growing cost of protectionism, entering new markets and industries, evolving their businesses, building value chains where you have markets, becoming the local company. And Scott, I think we can say, you said it first here, we're looking at a multi-localization strategy for companies in our increasingly deglobalized world. One thought I would like to leave this audience with, we spent a lot of time talking about guarding against the costs of tariff barriers and related to globalization costs. For an onward conversation, including with our guests, I would like this group to think about how should we think about that same problem in terms of the barriers to innovation that are likewise emerging as a parallel risk to the tariff and protectionism that we're now dealing with. So with that, thank you for your time and for joining us here this afternoon.
May I have 1 minute? Okay. I have a final 1 minute. Okay, I understand in the past weeks I was in US. I talked with many people, business leader, government official, that you are very concerned about China because many reasons. So I will offering a good solution for you. So I know many American companies still have an R&D center in China. So if it's possible, Taiwan is a good place for you to move back your R&D to Taiwan because Taiwan is more safe, more secure, and trustworthy. I wish.
And the food is better too.
Food is better. Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks so much. With that, we're adjourned. Thanks so much.